what I'm going to talk today is about Arise and Shine. And this is audience participation. I thought I knew so much about these women from books, from newspapers, from television, from the observation of others. But the truth is, I know so little about them. Until that unforgettable day, back in 2003, when women from Afghanistan came to Washington, to our nation's capital, to open their hearts and describe the pain and suffering that they had long endured, living as second-class citizens under the rule of the Taliban. Only then, only when I heard the anguish in their voices and saw the tears in their eyes, did I finally comprehend what it must feel like to women around the world who live day after day without the liberties that we take for granted. It wasn't too long before they returned home to a society that doesn't treat them well, to a future with so little promise. Well, unfortunately, these women are not exceptions. There are millions like them, from Belarus to Bahrain, from the Congo to Cuba, from Tunisia and Tibet. And that's why my talk today will concentrate on liberty, or rather the lack of liberty, and what, for women around the world, and what we, and that includes you, can do about it. My name is Pauletta Walsh, and the idea for the future that I am most passionate about is liberty for women. You know, throughout history, women have not had the same freedom and dignity as men, and the history of women's rights is a short one. In 9 years, on August 18, 2020, women in the United States will celebrate 100 years, just 1 century of the right to vote. So today, what I'm going to talk about is the status of women in the world, and then I want to engage your imaginations to consider creative steps for what we might do to substantially increase the liberty of women by the year 2020. Because I can think of no better way to honor the women that won that privilege for us than to expand the cause of women's liberty everywhere. Liberty. The state of being free within society from oppressive restrictions imposed by authority on one's behavior or political views. 2, the state of not being imprisoned or enslaved. 3, the power or scope to act as one pleases. By this definition, we can see that there are a large number of women in the world that do not have liberty. They are not free from oppressive restrictions. They are often imprisoned or enslaved, and they do not have the power or scope to act as they please. Now, later on, we'll look at the population of the world, the 7 billion, in terms of their degree of liberty, and then at women as 3.5 billion, to see how many women in the world are really free to make contributions to our world. So first, a very quick history of democracy. So we start with the written word, and then we have rule by monarchy and dictators and tyrants and emperors, and then a very short blip of democracy. That would be Athenian Greece. And then we have more monarchy and dictators and tyrants, and then suddenly, a couple city-states, I forgot them, and then in 15 AD, we have the Magna Carta and the beginning of English law, and then 1776, democracy is born. Now, at that time, democracy was an idea whose time had come. So through the 1800s, democracies rose rapidly. But what about women? Well, they didn't have the right to vote, they couldn't hold office, and they had limited rights for property or their children or inheritance. So, this is question and answer. Where in the world do women emerge first? Any takers? All right, well, fittingly, here's a hint, from the land down under. Yes, indeed, the prize goes to New Zealand. Oh, we gotta go back. Oh, God, I gave it away. Okay, the prize goes to New Zealand in 1893. Now, but for universal suffrage, where women can both hold office and vote, the winner is, no?
Finland.
Come on, Finland. Where is it? Seriously, Finland in 1906. Now this is a wonderful photograph of the women in the first Finnish legislature, and I would like to give a big shout out, please, to all the descendants of these women. Please, get out of the Okay. Now, while Wyoming was the first, before it was still territory, was the first place in the United States to give women the vote. So, like many social movements, things went from the West to the East for women's rights, and culminating in the passage of the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Now, where in the world can women still not vote? Well, this is fascinating. On September 26th, last month, Saudi Arabia granted women the right to vote in 2015. Okay, and then the day after that, a woman, I kid you not, I'm not making this up. Then a day after that, a woman was sentenced to flogging for driving. And then a day after that, the notice to flog her was rescinded. Okay, so such is life under monarchy. Okay. Now, a couple of the other stragglers, and we don't want to call them out, but we will, is Bhutan, Brunei, and Lebanon. And right now, I would like to cordially invite them to join us in the 21st century. Give me liberty or give me death. Strong words spoken by Patrick Henry in 1775, because without liberty, without the right to self-determination, one person is simply the subject to another. There must be one standard of liberty for all humankind. Some people believe that women not living in liberty is a choice that women are making. But is a woman making a choice if that choice is being made for her by a powerful authority? In other words, if I said to you, a man cannot drive, cannot work, cannot walk where in the streets, cannot dress as he please, and cannot be educated without fear of being beaten, jailed, or killed, would you believe that he lived in tyranny? Yes. Certainly yes. So consequently, we have to look. Indeed, the early abolitionists and the suffragettes found that if we truly believe and assert that all people are born equal and deserve liberty by right of birth, then arbitrary distinctions based on their skin color or their sex cannot deny them this right. Now, what standard shall I use for liberty? Can you pause that 1 minute? Okay, where we go? We will find it. What we're going to use, came, it went, it came, it went. There it is. We're going to use the U.S. Bill of Rights. Now, this unique document, which was emulated by the United Nations in 1948 in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it actually says that the rights belong to the person by natural law. So in other words, governments don't grant you these rights, so nor can governments remove them. How free is the world? Freedom House, which is a watchdog organization that tracks freedom in the world, has been doing so since 1972. And every year they do the Freedom in the World reports. And this is their map for 2011. Here we see that the countries in green are free, in yellow are partly free, and in purple are not free. Okay, they have a lot of matrices. They've been doing this. I refer you to them for more detail. But for our point of view today, here's what I'd like to point out. That in 2011, there are 87 countries that are free, about 42% of the population, 60% of the countries that are partly free, about 22% of the population, and 47 countries that are not free, and 35% of the population. So as we sit here today, 57% of the world's population does not live with the freedom that we enjoy with the U.S. Bill of Rights. Now, for 30 years, freedom has been coming up in the world, in all areas of the world except for the Middle East and North Africa. And then in 2011, we had the Arab Spring, where people who had long been living with dictators and kings have said to these people, move aside, we want self-governance. Now, this is an exciting, exciting time in history. It's got some peril, but it's got a lot of opportunity. So what do we need? Let's say that we're going to get the vote. We only got 4 stragglers, and we're going to get, what do we need next for people to live in liberty? Well, I'm going to go for being able to earn a living, being able to eat, having the freedom to do so, and keeping what you earn. So here we have the per capita income. So the green are the men, the yellow are the women. The low end is less than $1,000 a year, and the high end is $40,000 a year. Per capita income in the United States right now is about $40,000 a year. And here we can see that roughly 20% of the countries are reporting that their women are earning under $1,000 a year. Roughly 20% are showing that they're earning over $40,000 a year. And this is an optimistic picture because there's some countries that don't report. Those that don't report will tend to be poorer. There are a great number of women living in poverty in the world. Okay, so where are we going to go next? So we're going to go to freedom of speech and of the press, because you need to be able to have governance and to have liberty, you need to be able to read. So these are our grades of literacy. Again, the green are the men, the yellow are the women, and what you can see is only about 16% of the countries in the world show women literacy at above 99%, about 13% below 50% is functionally illiterate, and only 3% of the countries show men as functionally illiterate. So again, there are a great many numbers of women who are illiterate at this point in time. Okay, so these are some of the areas of liberty. I can't go into them all. We have a timekeeper, so I can't really go on and on as I would choose to do. So there are many, many worthwhile organizations that have the mission of caring for women as their primary mission. And they include UN Women, USAID, Women for Women International, amazing groups. The people that are, who work for these groups are dedicated. But, this is a big thing. They can't do it all. So what is missing? What is the missing ingredient that will mean that women will live in liberty by 2020? Well, I have to tell you that missing ingredient is you. The most important question is, what do we who live in liberty owe to those who do not? Does your standing in liberty stand as an example to others? And what can we do right now to advance women's liberty at this remarkable time? We know liberty in this country didn't succeed because we had a few great men with a few great ideas. Liberty succeeded because these men were devoted to liberty, willing to die for liberty, and that they convinced everyone around them that these were good ideas and their lives and the lives of their children would be better. So just like the brave pioneers of 1776 and the brave pioneers of 1900, there we go. The brave pioneers of 1900, we must devote ourselves to liberty, to unlock the potential of millions of people to make meaningful contributions to our world. Now, should we focus on law or economics or health or government reform? Why, yes, and yes, and yes, and yes, and yes again. And in a time of global uncertainty, it is easy to fall upon the ways of the past and say, you know what, oh, we don't have time for that. We have other priorities. Nonsense. And why am I saying arise and shine? Because, it's not arise with the angry fist. This is arise as inevitable as the sun rising, as an awakening. And why do I say 2020? Because it is only with a clear and perfect vision that we can see the future. Now is the time to press for the liberty of the women of Saudi Arabia, Libya, Syria, Egypt, Tunisia, Algeria, Bahrain, anywhere in the world, Cuba, anywhere in the world where women are still struggling to live in liberty and dignity. So, I'm going to give you a couple examples because this is about you and what you can do in your life. So, we have Sisters of the Good Shepherd, and they are a group of women religious, and they're in 73 countries. And one very great program that they have is in Thailand, in the rural areas of Thailand, and in the slums of Bangkok. It's a handicrafts production program. And they employ 600 women, which keeps them from poverty, and also that they can then not do migration and be exploited. And totally different, we have Project Artemis. This is at the Thunderbird School of Global Management, and this is where they bring women from Afghanistan who are talented women in business. They bring them to the Arizona campus. They graduate. They have training. They go back. They're mentored in that country. They go back and they create thriving businesses to employ other people. So Project Artemis creates jobs, it shares knowledge, and it sets an example for future generations of entrepreneurs. All right, so you are all the brave pioneers. So what are you going to do? So I don't know, there's so many ideas, but I'm going to give you 3 suggestions. My first one would be to adopt a country that is going through liberty and self-governance. Follow along, see what they're doing. And as they're writing these constitutions, and they'll all be writing new constitutions, let's make sure that women are a full part of the citizenry of this country. Second, adopt an area of liberty that you really love, whether it's freedom of speech or freedom of religion, under siege right now in a lot of places in the world, or right to a fair trial. For me, that area is trafficking in women and girls, which is our 21st century slavery, a billion-dollar industry, and really does need to end. And then also pledge in your life that you will keep women's liberty at the forefront of your mind. Join an organization, a local organization, or an international organization, and make sure that women's liberty is a part of your life. This is our historic moment. There is nothing as powerful as an idea whose time has come. You can act as a prism to focus the many colors into the white light of action. A world with liberty for all is truly unprecedented. I invite you to arise and shine. Thank you.